Yo, what's good? What's good, everyone? This is your brother Jay International, tapping back in once again. Out here enjoying this beautiful Sunday in the heart of nature, whew, like Infinite Waters. I had to, take it to the nature, man. We out here, man. But yeah, I just hope everyone is enjoying their day whenever you are watching this. If you don't know a little bit about me, and if you haven't been following my channel for that much long, I started off in travel. And when I was traveling, it wasn't a lot of travel content creators like when I started. One of my first trips out abroad was to Brazil, but unfortunately, and I probably could have been one of those guys because hindsight is 2020. As I look back, and I just say, man, that I could have done that. That was me. Like when I see these popular travel vloggers now, in particular Black American travel vloggers and or just Black male travel vloggers, I often think like, damn, that was me. Like if I only picked up a camera and documented my experience, I might have been where they are now. But it is what it is. Life, that happens, and sometimes the opportunity, you did something first, but you didn't seize an opportunity, and now it might have passed you by. But yeah, I say that to say that I started off traveling. I started off, I'm saying? I started off my YouTube with traveling, and then, I kind of just branched off into other subjects. But, long story short and short story long, I got popular, not on YouTube, but I was a part of a traveling Facebook group, a very infamous Facebook group. And basically what I did in this Facebook group was like 10,000 members. I was just going different places, right? I was just documenting myself going different places. I was going outside of the norm because most of the guys in the groups were going to these main locations: Brazil, the DR, Colombia, Thailand, and the Philippines. That was the main spots they was going. But what I was doing, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not just in it for the women. Like, I want to see different things. I want to travel. I want to experience different things. I want to learn. I want to see different cultures. So I started to branch off into these other locations. Nobody in the group was really doing that. Most of the guys in the group were just posting females, pictures of, oh, this is the female. And a lot of it was cap, and I got kicked out of the group for calling that cap. But a lot of these guys were posting, pictures of females that they wasn't really dealing with. And they were trying to make, like stock photos, But anyway, I called it out. And then I was traveling different places that they weren't traveling. And that also, got me recognized in the group, and people started to follow me. It's just unfortunate, like I said, I didn't take it out. I didn't take it to the YouTube, at that time. But one interesting experience happened when I was traveling that I want to talk about. And I want to talk about how I was almost robbed and unalived in Brazil. When I was going to Brazil, it was a time when I was going to Brazil that I wanted to really live. Like I was really trying to live in Brazil, trying to figure out a way to live in Brazil. Because once I first started going to Brazil, like I just fell in love with Brazil, right? I fell in love with the beaches, the culture, the women, the lifestyle, everything. Like, so I wanted to actually learn Portuguese because my first time going to Brazil, I found it very difficult to interact with the women because I didn't speak their language. And a lot of the interactions, it kind of seemed transactional. So I'm like, nah, I don't want this experience. Like, I want a real, authentic experience. So what did I do? I decided that I'm going to learn Portuguese. And I really went hard. Like, for the first year, I took Rosetta Stone. I had Pimsleur alongside with it. And then later on, once I started to learn the basics, I got an online tutor. So within 2 years, I basically was fluent. I was fluent in Portuguese. I can hear it, I can speak it, I can converse. And so how this played out for me in this situation was, this particular trip, I decided I wanted just to walk around. So I got dropped off in my Uber, and I took this, it was like a trail up this mountain. It was up a mountain. It was in Rio. It was in Rio de Janeiro. And I took this trail just, up. And it took me up to a certain height to where I can see, everything. It was just a beautiful view, right? Now in Brazil, another thing that's different than here in the States is that the ghettos are up in the hills. So the people that live in the ghetto, they call it favelas. They're up in the hills. They're up in the mountainside. And all the rich people live on the bottom. As opposed to here, when we think about the States, most people live up in the hills, and all the people that are lower class or whatever you want to call it, they live on the bottom. So anyway, I'm going up this trail, and I'm by myself, and I get to the top of the trail, and I took some pictures, looked at the view, reflected on life and stuff like that. And there was other people with me on the trail, mainly white people, not too many, I didn't see too many black people with me on the trail. But anyway, I'm on this trail, and as I'm coming down, when I'm coming down the trail, as I'm coming down the trail, there was a guy that was waiting right there. And I'm like, who's this guy approaching me? You know what I'm saying? As I'm walking down the trail, I see this guy approaching me. And, I'm just kind of, peeping him. And it appeared to be a brother. It appeared to be a dark-skinned Brazilian. So I'm like, okay. So as I'm getting closer, now he's acting strange. So as I'm getting closer, he all of a sudden, he stops. And he says something in Portuguese, right? And then he ups a weapon. He ups his pistol. And it's because he was kind of speaking low, I couldn't really hear him. So I'm like, what I'm saying? I just, I stopped still in my track. I'm like, man, I hold my hands up like, hey, Irmão, that means brother. My Portuguese is kind of rusty now because I haven't used it. So if you lose it, you use it. But anyway, I'm like, Irmão, hold my hands up. Irmão, what's going on? I'm speaking in Portuguese to him. And he's like, he says something, he mumbles. I guess he wasn't expecting me to speak Portuguese anyway. So I'm like, look, Irmão, that means brother. I'm like, look, brother, we both brothers, man. You know what I'm saying? The same struggles you're going through here in Brazil, we black American males are going through in the States. And I'm saying all this in Portuguese. I'm telling him we're going through this in the States. And, look, what I'm saying? Black people in the States, we got it rough. Economically, we on the bottom, socially on the bottom, all the social economic levels. We basically in the same states, but we just have, access to certain safety nets that maybe they don't have in Brazil. So I'm explaining all this to him, kind of quickly, not making no moves. My hands are still up. He's just holding the gun. He's just holding a pistol on me, and he's listening, And I'm like, look, Irmão, I'm like, check it out. I'm like, right behind me is some white people. That's the ones you want to be, that's they got the money. You know what I'm saying? I'm a broke I'm a traveler on a budget. These white folks behind me, they right up, y'all might think that's cold, but hey, man, this is, it's survival. You in survival mode, you know what I'm saying? and you trying to get yourself out of that situation. So I'm like, look here, Mal, right behind me, there's some white folks, and I know they got money. And you know what I'm saying? I'm just a poor black brother out here traveling on a budget, you know. And after I said all that to him in Portuguese, he kind of just like, with the pistol, he just kind of like, all right, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like, go ahead. Maybe he was gonna try that. I don't know what happened. I got up out of there. I didn't turn back around to see what he was doing. I just kept going. But the thing that's crazy is that as I'm passing him, I pat him on his back, like, you know, I kind of like give him a pat, like, thank you, brother. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't do nothing, man. He didn't do nothing, and that was an experience that, you know, I would never forget. I didn't stop traveling after that. I just, you know, now I move more cautiously. Like, that taught me. Like, I learned from that experience. Hey, you got to move more cautiously. I know, you know, you're a big black male, you lift weights and you in shape, and you know, you train in a boxing gym, but you know what I'm saying, that's, you know, a gun. You know, you ain't gonna out box or out fight a gun. So I just had to move more cautious after that, you know. But it just goes to show, like, you know, black people are all over the world, everywhere you go. Asia, you know, South America, we everywhere, right? And one thing that, if you learn that language wherever you go, you can sympathize with black people in other parts of the world if they know your struggle. Like, hey, look, you know, like I told them, like, we in the same struggle, man. You dealing with the issues of white supremacy there. I'm dealing with the issues of white supremacy in the U.S. So, you know, we was able to come on to a common grounds. And I feel like that, and then coupled with me being able to communicate in Portuguese, got me up out of that situation. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, it's your brother, Jay International, tapping back in once again before I go. Whew. Take a deep breath, enjoying this Sunday, beautiful weather in Southern California, out here with the fam. Everybody's just chilling. And make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.